Can we talk about this? So here's some stats that are on the face level that would seem like a double standard, but they're still true. And so this is something that a lot of women find to be uncomfortable. And this is the statistic. So as you go through life and have more sexual partners, there's studies that show this is family growth. Is the Office of Family Growth? Is that did this study?
It's the IFS.
Okay, IFS.
International Family Studies.
Okay, so the International Family Studies did this, and basically what they did is they took the number of sexual partners you had, and then how that would correlate in a marriage, whether or not you're happy or not happy in the marriage. The actual question was very happy or not very happy in the marriage, and the second thing was, did you get a divorce? Right, those were the two kind of things that they went through there. And what they found with men is that when men had very few sexual partners, they were happy, and fewer. And then once they got to like 6 to 10 sexual partners, they actually got happier. You notice this? It's like because normally adjusted men in North America will have like 6 to 10 sexual partners. That means they've had some sexual partners, then they met their wife, and then they're with their wife. Having more sexual partners, what I'm trying to say is, did not affect how happy a man was in his marriage. Okay, and I know some guys here some girls here live in Vegas that get married to a dude, and the girl's been with 3 guys, and the guy has been with 500 girls, and he's just normal because it doesn't really affect men in their relationships if they've been with a lot of. You agree with this?
Yeah.
You've seen this before. Okay, for women, not the fucking same thing. For women, as you got, like it would go, like the happiest women are women who literally the first guy they had sex with, they married. Those were the ones who showed the highest level of happiness. Once it got to 6 to 10 partners, it plummeted below 50%. It got really, really low, and women were saying that they didn't enjoy it. And in fact, it got to the point where we had 20 sexual partners, you had a 17% chance of staying in a marriage. For men, this was not the case. Men having more sexual partners had very little correlation on whether or not they stayed in a marriage. Women having more sexual partners had a very not deep, it was statistically significant correlation on whether or not they got out of a marriage.
And remember, it's correlation, not causation.
Yeah, it's correlation, not causation.
You have to also remember that happiness is a qualitative figure, not a quantitative figure. However, there's also stats for when women have higher body counts, they have a higher incidence of depression. Higher instance of marital unhappiness or a marital stability.
Again, we're not. This is not a statement about what the way the world should be. But when men have a lot of sexual partners, they don't get depressed. When women have a lot of sexual partners, a lot of times they do. If you guys want to check out the end of the movie after porn ends, at the end of the movie they show all these porn stars, and at the end,
love them.
Have you seen the end of the movie?
And yeah, I've seen them.
But the women are not well adjusted. A lot of them are very unhappy. A lot of them go back into porn. A lot of them they got religious, went back into porn. Some of them were into drugs. Every one of the dudes was happy as shit. They had started a law practice.
And that was like a different time period.
Well, I mean, I don't know that studio porn is really even a thing anymore. I think every one of those people
still a thing.
Yeah, but they all have OnlyFans.
Yeah, but it's still a thing.
Yeah, I'm saying like all of them are using it as lead gen for their OnlyFans now.
Sure.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying it's significantly different now.
Well, so there's also the STD stats,
for sure,
which is easy to track. But then there's also there's depression. There's incidence of divorce, a higher incidence of divorce. And then there's a higher incidence of marital unhappiness. Stability is how they define it. Also, and just because I know people are going to knock us on this, it is also the test, the pool, the test sample is for women who are 30 years old or older. So it's not like we're not looking at it, because the reason why they do that is because the average age of first marriage in the United States is 28 for women and 29 or 30 for men. And then it's couples who have been married for at least 5 years.
Yeah. So that
I want to put that out there
30.
because I got to be accurate here, because there's a lot of sons of bitches out there quoting these stats, and they never quote that stuff because then people go, "Oh, are those really accurate?" Yes, they are. That's how that's the methodology that they use, and we have to clarify that because people will take it and then they'll run with it.
So the point is, this book behind me, the Evolutionary Psychology book, this is a book about the way humans are, not the way they ought to be. Like evolutionary psychology does not cover human rights. Evolutionary psychology covers what were the naturally selected proclivities that humans have that aided in survival. For women to be selective about who they have sexual intercourse with aided in survival, and for men to not be picky aided in their survival.
Men can separate emotion from the sex.
For sure, completely.
So let me ask this question. Here, let's throw this one, because we put this one out before. If you meet a guy, maybe you're with a guy right now, Does his sexual history make a difference to you, and does your sexual history make a difference to him? Is it an issue? If you met a guy that had 100 partners, would that bother you?
It's Vegas.
Okay
I'm sorry.
It is Vegas.
500 partners.
500.
It's Vegas. 500.
Let's make a nice round number.
I mean, honestly, as long as he's clean, doesn't have any STDs, like, I don't give a shit. Like, your past before me is your past before me. Like, especially sexually, that means better experience for me. You know what you're doing in bed.
Does that improve his chances?
Yeah. So no, I don't give a shit. As long as you're clean, it's fine.
Shar, let's make that a TikTok.
And Domo,
let's make that a TikTok, Shar.
And Domo, I know your business, so maybe this is kind of a moot point.
Absolutely,
But
testing is important. I don't really care about the past of other women either. That doesn't bother me, and I don't feel like threatened by that. But just being aware of your test results is your status is important.
So the number's not important so much as the health factor.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, the number does not matter at all. I could care less. But I do have 4 brothers at home, and if there was a girl who had about 100 partners, I know that would be a problem for them.
What about
It's different.
What do you think?
With women?
I think it's different for men and women.
So what's it? So you would you not care if? A guy
I don't
explain.
care. I wouldn't care. That's their past. That all happened before me. Once you have met me and we have started a relationship, it's a whole thing.
Once we get to the natty voodoo clam, then there's no other voodoo clams. There's no other clams. It's just her. It's got it. I understand now. The magic. Okay. Now, do you believe that it matters to men?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because I feel like, so this may be a bad example, but I feel like if a woman found out her man was cheating, I feel like they're more likely to forgive them and take them back. Where if a guy, I know personally men who have found their girl cheating, it's like the end of the world. And they're like,
Ultimate
she's
sin.
a fucking horrible person. Yeah.
Yeah, so the way Dr. Bust describes this, men generally ask when they get cheated on, did you fuck him? Women ask, do you love her? And the other thing about it is when gay men get cheated on, they ask, did you fuck him? When lesbian women get cheated on, they ask, do you love her? It actually has to do with XY chromosome and hormones. It does not have to do with your sexual preferences.
Yeah. Interesting.
What do you think? Do you think that it matters to men?
Yes and no. I mean, it depends what type of men. Some, especially girls that are in the industry, some men get really excited about that. That's kind of a fetish for them. But then there is that other, citizens.
Demographic of guys.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or civilians, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You already said your brothers would have a problem with a girl who had 100 body count.
Yeah.
And you feel the same way? That men care more?
Yeah.
Yeah,
For sure.
It's interesting. So we've asked this question before, and then sometimes instead of this, we'll have a girl be like, "Men shouldn't care." We'll be like, "Okay, so you have a son, and your son is coming home, and he has a new girlfriend
Or a brother.
or a brother. The girlfriend has 3 different baby's daddies, and has been with 100 women. What are you going to tell your son?" And you should see the dissonance in the woman's face. She's like, okay, yeah.
3 different baby daddies.
I would tell him not to be with her. He can do better because all of a sudden, once it's your
he doesn't want to be number 4.
yeah, but all of a sudden, when it's your genetics on the line, because this is your child, this person's related to you, then all of a sudden you give a shit, and that's essentially what happens. Like whenever you ask, it's funny when you ask men questions through the lens of their daughters, they become blue pilled. When you ask women that questions through the lens of their sons, they become red pilled. It's just really interesting how that whole thing works. But yeah, there is a double standard. If it sounds like there's a double standard, there is a double standard. A man could go to Brazil, fuck 17 girls, and then the next day be cool, and then the day after that fuck 17 girls, and then go back to his fucking wife and not act any differently. And it blows women's mind when you say that. I'm not excusing that. I'm not saying guys go to fucking Florianopolis and have sex with 17 girls. What I'm saying is that men, our psychology is different. Like different animals can eat different things. It's just part of their psychology. As men, we have the capability of doing this and separating the love from the intimacy. And so there's another thing. Do you believe that this is cultural or evolutionary? What do you think? The fact that men can get away with this and not be affected by it. Do you think it's cultural? Do you think it's evolutionary? Do you think it's genetic?
It's cultural.
Think it's cultural? What do you mean? Do you think
That's the culture that we live in.
you think that culture teaches men to be okay with having multiple sexual partners and not be affected by it?
Yeah,
It's
guys
not-
are high-fived every time.
But it's not genetics. You understand it would have. You don't think it's genetics. You think it's cultural. What do you think?
I think it's evolution, 100%.
What do you think?
Evolution.
What do you think?
I think a little bit of both, but mainly evolution, yeah.
Okay, so here's the reason why it's 100% evolution. There's a study done in 1989 by Dr. David Buss where he goes to 37 different cultures. Some of these cultures have no contact whatsoever with the Western world. We're talking about tribes in the Andes. We're talking about tribes in Polynesia that have no contact with anyone else. In every single one of these 37 tribes, men were more interested in casual sex than women were. In every single one of these tribes, men found the same signs of youth and symmetry in women to be the same across all of them, and they had no contact with each other whatsoever. They found a 0.72 hip-to-waist ratio to be the most attractive, and the women found men to have a 1.65 to 1 shoulder-to-waist ratio to be the most attractive. There were women preferred men that were tall, not a specific type of height, but taller than them. And like I said before, in every one of these societies, men were more aggressive than women. It is not cultural, 0% cultural. It is 100% because you belong to a species of hominids that's been around for 300,000 years, and that this is a survival characteristic of men. Men throughout evolutionary history have needed to have sex with as many partners as they could to spread their seed, and women needed to be picky in order to protect their offspring. That is just the way it's been, and it aided in survival, and that's the reason why it exists. It has zero to do with culture.
When we asked this question before, I think it was like on the first or the second episode here, we asked exactly the same question. Would you be okay with a guy that had a lot of partners? And every girl that was on the show said they would be okay with it so long as they didn't have to meet any of the ex-partners like in a club or something like that. Like it was
except for Natty.
There was a social
Natty
thing.
wants their autograph.
Yeah.